Hi everyone, it's Alison. Thank you for joining me today. Today I wanted to show you this gorgeous Christmas project that I've made. It's a carousel or an advent carousel, and I saw a tutorial from a channel called Tanu Creative. I'll pop a link down below with the tutorial. She makes various 3D projects like this. I think the only thing is she doesn't talk actually, and the video sort of slightly sped up, which sometimes I do struggle to follow, so I persevered and managed to do it, and I've just made a few changes. I've done mine in inches, whereas I know she uses metric. She also, for some of the measuring, used a protractor, which I don't have one of those, so I'll show you how to make it without, if you don't have one of those. But what's lovely with this is that, if I can hold that like that, is this top part spins round, so when it's down on your surface you can just spin it round and the bottom stays where it is, and you've then got little doors that pull forward like that, which you can put in plenty of space in there to put in chocolates and sweets, or you know, if they don't, the person you're giving it to doesn't like that, you can put anything in there. Actually, there's quite a lot of space in there. And then on the top, the papers I used actually already came with the numbers. It's this paper pack here, which I think I got from the range either last year or the year before, and it already had, I'll show you there, so it already had the numbers there, so I didn't need to die cut the numbers, so that was quite handy. But because it had 25, I've also made a little box on the top so that you can put in perhaps a more special gift for the actual big day. And then I put some other presents in front, and this present here in fact is what's housing. If you just lift that up like this, I've done it so it's hinged so you're not going to lose it, and then inside here is the little switch to switch on the lights. Let me turn the lights down so that you can see, and then we've got the lights going all around the top there. And these are just some lights that I bought, it was last year, and they're actually to go in glass bottles. I think I got them off Amazon. There was about 10 in a pack, so cheap as well, and they just work with watch batteries. But I just put a little Velcro spot just so that I can stick that on there and it doesn't move around, and then I just close that down, and that's magnetic as well, so it will stay in place, and that just houses the little switch. And I just thought that was lovely, and I really did enjoy making this, so I thought I'd show you how to make one too. So for this advent carousel I'm going to use these lovely papers from Dovecraft called Christmas Tales. I know these are quite old now, but I've still got so many left. I've got lots of papers in my stash, I think we all do, and I wanted to try and use up what I've got. I think you can actually still get them though. I will have a look and see, and if I can find them then I'll put a link down below. I did see, I'm going to use these little puffy stickers as well on some of the little doors, so I did see these still available on Create and Craft, but I'll have a look. But they are so pretty, and then what I'm going to do with these is use white cardstock rather than the black, and also because this, unlike the other papers, these don't have the numbers for me, so I'm going to have to die cut the numbers, and I think I might just use red foil. I might mix with gold as well, so we'll just see how it goes. So that's the papers we're going to use. So we're going to start off by making our circles, which is what holds our, it's going to have our doors rather, and things on. So we're going to need 5 10-inch circles. Now I find the easiest way to do your circles is to invest in one of these circle cutters. They are very easy to use, they're relatively inexpensive as well. I will pop a link down below, you can get them from most craft stores, Amazon, like that. But if you don't have one of these, you could use a dinner plate. I would just try and do it so you've got an even number. So this is going to be 10 inches. We are going to need to calculate half and half again, so it would be easy to use a nice rounded figure rather than 9 and 15/16 or something. You're just going to want a nice rounded figure. So as I said, we're going to want a 10-inch circle, and on my particular circle cutter, for me, I have to put that just over the 10. I find if I have it dead on the 10, it wasn't quite 10 inches, which was then causing an issue later on, which I'll show you that. But what you want to do, if you haven't used one of these before, is to take the guard off, which I've just done on the back there, and you just lightly lay it down. Don't push down on the blade yet, that's where the blade is, so just be careful. And then just move it around, just check that it's not going to come off your card. And when you're happy with that, you can then hold it in place. And I don't hold this black bit because otherwise I find it can then move and then it causes an issue with your circle. But just hold on to the ends, just firmly, but not down too hard, and whilst pushing firmly in the middle so it doesn't move, just move your cutter all the way around, and I rest my hand on the card as well just to stop it moving away from me, and that should have cut all the way through. So it hasn't a bit there, you can just go back the other way until it's all cut out. I think it's still just stuck a bit round there. There we go. And so that's our circle cut out of our cardstock. And you're going to need 5 of these, but you're also going to need a 6th one, which is what this one is for me, which is going to be used as a template. So if you actually cut 6 10-inch circles, and then with your 6th one, you're going to fold it exactly in half. And just fold that. Turn it round and fold in half again. And do it so that you're lining up. In fact, where we folded that in half, let's just score that so that it's nice and sharp. Open it up and then fold it in half the other way, just lining up the scores that you've just created. Then that way you know it's exactly in half that way and straight. Okay, and then open it up and we should have 4 even quarters there. So the next stage is to grab a ruler and a pencil, and you want to line up your ruler so that you've got the centre point in the centre of your circle. And because mine is 10 inches, a 10-inch circle, you want to line up this central score line with the 5, and then you'll know that that's your centre. And I've put a little mark, but you can actually, to make it easier, use your pencil to draw a straight line through your score line, and then turn it round and do the same on the other side. Okay, so then we've got that. Then what you want to do is line up the 5 so that it's this line here. Let's show you with my ruler. You're lining up the centre of your circle, so in mine it's 5, and then I'm lining up the bottom line and the top line with this vertical line here so that we know it's straight. And you then want to put a mark halfway along. So mine's 5 inches on this side, so I want to put a mark at 2.5. Then move my ruler up so that it's straight along this vertical line. Do a mark at 2.5 and come down here and do a mark at 2.5, and then just join those lines up. Okay, so, and then do the same on the other side. And you might find that it's not exact. If it's a little bit out, that's absolutely fine. It's not going to hurt. So measure over 2.5. Move your ruler up so you're in line with this central line. Measure 2.5. Move your ruler down and measure 2.5. And again, just join the lines up that you've just made. Okay, so you've got something that looks like that. Then you want to rotate it and do the same again. So line up your ruler so the 5 is in the middle and measure 2.5. You can come up to this line that you've made along here, check that it's straight on your central line, do a mark at 2.5 and do the same down here, and then do the same on the right hand side, coming over 2.5. Okay, so now we've got, once I've done my line, okay, so now we've got something that looks like that. Then what we're going to do is where these points at the end of the circle, on the edge of the circle there, we're going to join that one up straight through the middle and join it up with where it is on the edge on the other side. Let's just show you if that makes sense. So line up your ruler with the top through the middle and then join it up down the bottom here and draw your pencil line. Okay, so you've got that, and then rotate it. You've got your central line there. Rotate it to the next point and come to the next point on this side. Check it's going through the middle, and when you're happy that's lined up, draw your line. Rotate it to the next point. Again, check it's going through the middle to your point down here and draw your pencil line. Again, we've already got this line here, so we then rotate it to the next one. Line at the top, through the middle, check it's lined up down the bottom and draw your line. And while keeping your hand there, or keeping your ruler there, it's quite handy to actually draw these lines now in pen so that we can rub out the lines that we don't need. So just go ahead with your diagonal lines you've just made, go over them in pen. Okay, and then we've got this, and then these lines here we can then rub out. And that's our template, and it's this section here, this part here, that Tanu did with a protractor, so I didn't have one of those, so yeah, this is I find it quite an easy way of doing it. Right, so that's now our template. So what we want to do now is, with our discs that we've cut another 5. On 4 of those we want to put these lines. Now it's up to, well, as I say, I've used a template, so we're not going to have to measure it all out again. The easiest way I find of doing it is to lay your template over the top, and it's going to be the same size because we've cut them out using our circle cutter there. And once you've got that lined up, you want to use a sharp tool, so you can use a pokey tool, anything that's sharp, a bradawl, anything like that. Check that it's all lined up, and with your tool you want to go right in the centre and just push like that. And if you hold it in place, if you lift it up, you'll see that I'm not going to lift it up, but I've got a little hole there which I can see. And what you then want to do is, just along the edge, you want to put a hole, not right at the edge. I've gone about 1/8 of an inch down the line, and I'm just poking a hole around like that. I'll see if I can show you without moving it. I'm not sure if you can see that. Let me go to the underneath. I'm not sure if you're seeing that at all, but there's holes that's gone through onto the bottom piece, and you want to follow that around on all of the outside ones. And I find it's easier to count as you go, especially when you do the second one, because you're already going to have the holes there, so you might forget where you are. So it's a good idea to count as you're going, and you'll have 12 lines in total. So once you've done the outside ones, what you then want to do is come down about halfway and then do another hole like that, and then just again follow that round on each line until you've put a hole on all of the lines like that. Okay, and once you've got all the lines, you can then move your template. Let's write on there template, so we know. And you'll know it's your template because this one's going to be folded in half. And that's why I wanted to do a template, because I didn't want these with folds in them. But now if you have a look, I don't know if you can see that. Let me put my lights on and see if you can see. I don't know if you can. But what I'll do, you should be able to see with your eyes, with the naked eye, where you've done your pin marks. And you want to grab your ruler and again just join up where you've made your holes like that. Move it along. Again, making sure that you're going through the centre like that, and you'll feel actually as you're running your pencil down, you should hopefully feel your pencil go into the little holes that you've made as you're going down. So just do that, going all the way around. Okay, and then you'll have that. Okay, and then what you want to do is do the same thing again on another 3. So you're going to want 4 of these in total. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be right back. Right, so I've now got my 4 circles with my lines on, which should be 12 equal parts, and then we've got a 5th one that should be plain. So we'll move them to one side for now. And what we're going to do now, if I bring in the other one, we're going to make, if I open up the little doors here, we're going to be making these upright sections here. So you're going to need, in fact on the carousel bit, because the 25th is in the present on top, we're going to need 48 pieces of card which measure 4 inches by 3.5. Now out of 12 by 12 cardstock you can get 9 pieces, so it doesn't use too many sheets, but it's worth it, I think. So what you want to do is on each piece grab your scoring board, and on the 3.5 inch side you want to score at 1/2 inch and 3 inches. Okay, so you've then got 1/2 inch on either side, and you want to do that on all 48 pieces. So I've got to do mine, but then I'll show you what to do next. You want to just score, well, fold and burnish the score lines that you've just made. And what I do is, obviously because there are 48 of these, I do them in batches, because I just find otherwise you just, well, it gets a bit boring, and that's the last thing you want. So I normally do these, say, in batches of 12, and then once you've scored and folded those, you then want to glue them together back to back like that. Okay, so we'll grab our glue, and you want to use a good strong glue. And I do find it easier to definitely use a wet glue, because you want these to be lined up well. So unless you are really good with using double-sided tape and getting it lined up first time, I would use wet glue. So you just position them so that they're lined up, fold back on your score lines, and just check that they're all lining up nicely. And you can use something just to smooth the glue out so that you know that you're getting a nice even coverage. And then you've got something that looks like that. Okay, and as I say, you're going to want 48 of these. Do them in batches of 12. Once you've done those, you then just want to cut the corners off of each, of all the 4 corners, and you just got it like that, and you want to do that, as I said, on all 4 corners. Okay, and then you want to do that on all of them until you've got, well, you should have a total of 24 of these pieces. Right, so I've now stuck my 48 pieces together into pairs, so you should now have 24 of these pieces, and then I've gone ahead and cut the corners off on each of the 4 corners. So then what you want to do is grab one of your circles that you made earlier, and we're going to be positioning these on these lines that we've made, and you want to line up the score line on these lines. So we're going to just use liquid glue, and you want to put the edge of the piece of here up to the edge of the circle like that. So let me do my first piece and then I can show you. And again, you want to use liquid glue so that you've got time rather to move it into place. So line it up on the edge and then line it up so that the join is running along this line that we made earlier. And once you're happy with that, press down firmly. Again, just use your bone folder just to spread that glue out so we know that that's going to be stuck down firmly. And then you want to grab your next piece and apply a good layer of glue and do the same again. So just up to the edge of your circle and then line up the join with the line on that you made earlier. And on here you'll be putting 12 pieces, and this will be your bottom layer. Okay, so you want to repeat that until you have all of these covered. Okay, so that's all my pieces stuck down, and at the moment it will feel very floppy and flimsy, but once it's all stuck together it won't be like that at all. It will be well supported once we've got the other tier stuck on. So before we do the next one, the next layer, we just need to cut out another circle, and you want to grab your circle cutter again, and we're going to make a smaller circle. Doesn't matter what size. I'm just going to bring mine down to 8, but what I'll do is if it doesn't fit on this scrap then I shall make it smaller. So it doesn't, so I'm going to make it a bit smaller. There we go, that should now fit on there. And I forgot to add earlier, you could do this with a compass if you wanted, but I don't own one of those either, so right, so that's our circle, and we want to find the centre. So if you've used a compass, your centre is going to be where your little hole is there, where you've pricked the pointy bit so that you can do your circle. Because I haven't got that, I'm going to have to fold this in half again. Give that a good burnish and fold it in half the other way, again lining up those score lines. And that's going to give us our centre point there where the cross is. So grab your pokey tool and a mat, because we're going to want to put a hole through the centre of our circle, like that. Okay, so you want a biggish hole, and then with one of your other circles, your ones with your markings on, we want to put a hole through the centre of that as well, because what we're going to be doing is positioning the smaller circle on the back and putting a brad in. So I've got some brads here. It doesn't matter what colour you use because it's not going to show. Because I've got white, I might as well use a white one. But as I say, it's not going to show, so if you've only got black, then that's fine. And so you put that through the top there, so that you've got the lines on the top, and then put your smaller circle on, and then open up your brad like that. And it's this that makes our spinning mechanism. So don't do it too tight, and just check that that works freely, which it does. Okay, so that's now ready for us to put our pieces on, which we'll look at in a second. So now if we grab this one back, we're now going to be putting on, so this is the disc without that backing on. That's that one there. So not this one, you want this one. And we're going to be sticking this on top of there, lining up the pieces again with the lines that we've got there. So I'll show you how I do that. First of all, you want to go in and glue all of your tabs. So you want to use a glue that's not quick drying. This is Carousel glue, so it's very strong, excuse me, but it does take longer to dry, and that's what you want really, because you're going to be applying the glue to all of these flaps before you're adhering anything. Right, so I've got the glue now on all of my flaps, and what you want to do then is grab your second circle and turn it over so you've got the lines at the bottom, and just have a look where your lines are, and for now just roughly line them up with your pieces. In fact, where you've got the holes, where you've used your template so you knew where to put the lines, you can actually know then that the holes are where your lines are. So you can roughly at the moment just line them up, just push gently just so that it starts to stick but not too hard, and then turn it over and then line up each one individually like that, and then go along and line up each one. And once you've got the fronts lined up, you can then just go in and just check that the backs are straight as best as you can. Like that, by just literally looking down it. Okay, so you've got those straight there. Okay, that's how it looks there. And when you're happy with that, go in with your bone folder and push down on each flap so that the glue's spreading out nicely and you know that it's stuck down well. Okay, and that's our first tier made. And so now we'll grab our piece that's got the brad on and that piece underneath, and we're now going to put on these other uprights like we did before. Okay, and that's our second tier made, and that's going to eventually go on top of this one. We don't want to stick that on just yet because we want to make our little hole fronts, which that's easier to do while they're separated. Okay, so next step, making the little doors on the front. So for the little door fronts, you're going to want 24 pieces of cardstock that measure 4 inches by 4 inches square, and we're going to want to score on the side at 1 inch and 3.5 inches, and then rotate that and score at 3/4 of an inch and 3.25 inches. And what that will do is give us 3/4 of an inch each side, and then 1/2 an inch at the top there and 1 inch at the bottom. And then what we're going to do is we want to cut out these 4 squares here that we've made from the scoring. And in fact what I'll do is just cut it slightly on the angle and then come round on the other side and just cut on the angle there. So we're just creating tabs. So do the same on this side, down on the angle, like that, and do that on all the corners. Okay, so you've got that. And then we want to fold and burnish our score lines. Okay, and so the top of our door is the 1 inch piece there. That's the flap that's going to, the bigger flap is going to go in on the top of our door. So what we want to do is put a little slit in, just the top there, where we're going to put our ribbon so that you can pull the door open. And so what we want to do first is find the centre of this here, which, so this section here, the box inside measures 2.5 inch square. So you want to find the centre, which is 1 1/4, and then just come either side 1/8 of an inch, so that you've got then 1/4 of an inch. We're going to make 1/4 of an inch slit. If I show you there, can you see that? I've come in at 1 1/4 and then just made a mark either side of that, so that's going to give us 1/4 of an inch. We're going to make 1/4 of an inch slit, and you can either use a craft knife. I've actually found it quicker to use a little hole punch. This one, I'm not too sure what it measures. It's tiny actually. It's probably about 2 mil, I would say, that little hole. But anything sort of small, and you just go in, and so you just line up with your first spot and then just go along, trying to keep it relatively straight until you then get to your last, and then you'll see that that makes a slit, and we'll pop our ribbon through there. And you want to, as I say, do 24 of these. Right, so once you've got your 24 pieces, what we're then going to do is put a little magnet on the top here. So you want to turn it over, and I've got some little magnets that measure 1 mil thick by 5 mil across, so they're tiny little magnets. I actually got these in error, not realising they were quite so small, but these have actually come in really handy for this particular project. So all we're going to do is just plop a bit of glue roughly in the middle, like that, and then just position. It doesn't matter at this instance which way you put your magnet, but you just plop that in the middle, and then just push it down, okay, like that, and then wait for that glue to dry. And by the time you've put that on the remaining 23, you'll find your first ones are then dry. So I want to go ahead and do that on all of the remaining 23 pieces. Right, so I've now got my magnets now on my top flaps there. I'm going to turn them over so I've got the first ones that I've done. Now this next step, I suppose, isn't absolutely necessary, but I just wanted to, one, hide the magnet, but also to help secure it a bit more, because although it is stuck on with glue, over time it may well come unstuck. So what I'm going to do is cover it with some little circles, and these I believe measure half an inch. Is it half an inch? No, it's 5/8 of an inch, this particular circle. You could do 3/4 of an inch. I think it's obviously as long as it's not bigger than your flap there. So you're going to want to punch out obviously 24 little circles to cover our magnets. Right, so once you've got your 24 circles, you're then literally just going to apply some glue and lay it on top of our magnet. And it will take a while to stick down, but once it does, you just want to tease it with your bone folder all the way around until it finally starts to adhere, and it will just cover that magnet and keep that secure. Okay, so then you'll have something that looks like that. Okay, so you want to do that on the other 23 pieces. Alright, so that's all the covers now put on our magnets, and actually I will put a link to the magnets in the description box below. And also, if you don't have a little circle punch, you could just cut out little squares, or you could cut out a piece to match the shape there. So now what we're going to do is, I actually prefer to decorate the fronts before they're stuck onto the actual carousel. It's much easier to redecorate, to decorate them first. So I've already gone ahead and pre-cut my numbers, and I've done it in gold and red foil, and I might just use all gold or both colours. So I just thought, if I do the two, then I can decide what I want. And I've gone ahead and I've cut my decorative paper, and the size that you want these are 2 1/4 inches by 2 1/4 inches. And I've also got my little stickers here, which I probably won't use stickers on all of them, but I'm just going to have a play around, get this all stuck down, and then I'll be back. So I've now got all my fronts decorated, and I decided to alternate the numbers with gold and red foil. So that's all done. And now what we're going to do is put the ribbon through our little holes that we made, which is what's going to be our pull, so we can pull the little doors open. And I'm just using, let's get rid of the noise first, sorry about that. I'm just using these little thin strips of ribbon here. Stuck that down to stop it unravelling, but I've obviously used something that's too sticky. There we go. This is so cheap, I just got it off of Amazon. I'll pop the link below, but there are so many different ones out there. So I think what I'm going to do is use the red ribbon for where I've got the red numbers, and I'll use the gold ribbon on the gold numbers. And you just want to, yeah, I think we'll actually cut that around 3 inches. So that's about that long. Yeah, and then we'll just fold that in half. Feed it through. And I have it about 1/2 inch, something like that, just so you've got enough in there that you can just pull, and then hold that in place and fold the back over like that, and then I just hold that in place with a bit of sellotape like that. And if you want to, you can leave it like that, but I'm actually going to cover mine so that you can't see that. And I've just cut 24 pieces. I've done all mine the same design. These measure 2 3/8 by 2 3/8, so that just fits in there and covers mostly the back of that. So I shall put that on like that, and that will also hide the back of the ribbon, but it will also keep that secure as well. And then we've got our pull. So you want to go ahead and do that to your other 23 doors. Right, I've now got all my fronts done. I've stuck the ribbon down, our little pulls there, and I've covered the back with the decorative paper. And what I've also done now is I've separated into the two piles of 12, and I've muddled up the numbers as well so that you've not got two consecutive numbers together. So you now want to grab one of the layers of your carousel, and we're going to be sticking the doors in. Now at this point, actually, if you're going to be sticking the lights around the edge on the top, we're going to be sticking those lights down with hot glue gun. So if you're going to be doing that, you want to switch your hot glue gun on now, because you want it to be nice and hot so that it's easier to work with. Right, so grab your first set of doors that's going on your first tier, and it doesn't matter whether you're doing the top layer or the bottom layer. In this instance I'm going to be doing the top layer, and with your first door these are going to be sticking in like that. So if I put the glue on first, so with the top facing you, the front facing you, grab your liquid glue and put some on the tab, and you want to position it so that when you put the front up against it, it doesn't go any further, so it just butt it up to where the edges of your opening is there. As far as it will go, lay it down and then push down and just go over it with your finger. Okay, so then you've got something that looks like that. Let me just zoom out a bit, it might be able to see a bit easier. Okay, and then you'll be folding your sides up, and that will go in and fit like that. Okay, and then you want to go along, grab your next door. Remember to apply the glue with the front facing you, like that. Turn it round, butt the flap up against the edges of the upright pieces here, and then press down firmly. Use your bone folder as well, just to make sure that the glue is all spread out nicely. And then fold the sides in and the top and push it in like that. Okay, and we're just going to follow that all the way around until all our pieces are glued in. Right, so I've now got all the doors on my first layer. So it's really starting to come together now. So what you want to do now is grab your magnets again, and we're going to put the other, or the positive or the negative, on the top of our circle here. So push in your doors so that they're where you want them. You don't want them going in too far or sticking out too far. Grab your magnet and just let it drop, and it will find itself. It will find where its mate is. Can you see? So just go all around, positioning all your other magnets. Okay, so that's that done, and you can still move your doors until, because we haven't stuck the magnets down yet, they're just being held by the other magnets, so move your doors so that they're in the position that you would like. And so once you're happy with that, I'm then going to hold them in place with some double-sided tape. I've got some really thin double-sided tape, but it's one of those that I bought not realising it was going to be quite as thin, but it's now coming in useful. It's about 3mm or 1/8 of an inch tape, so it's ideal just for holding the little magnets in place. So just tear a piece off and just push it over the top of your magnet that's on the top there, and just do that all the way around so that the magnet is held in place. So you've just got that. Okay, so now we've got that. Okay, so we'll just put that to one side, and we'll now repeat that whole process again, but with our other layer. So we're going to put all of our doors on, line up the doors where you want them, and put all the magnets again on the top. So I'm going to do that with mine, and I shall be right back. Right, so that's my second layer done now, and I'll put all the double-sided tape over the magnets. So what you want to do now is grab the layer that doesn't have anything on the bottom. So you should have one that's got this smaller disc on and one that doesn't have anything. Okay, so you want to grab that one that doesn't have anything, and we're going to put your 5th circle that you made. That's going to go on top of there, which should line up with the other circle, and it just helps as well to cover those magnets, and it will stop it interfering with the spinning of the top tier as well. Wasn't sure if it would interfere or not, but that just helps to keep the magnets in place as well. So I'm going to need to take off the backing of the double-sided tape. Alright, so once all your backings are off, you just want to put some glue onto your circle, and you want to apply quite a lot of glue actually. You just want to make sure that that's going to stick down nicely and not come apart at any point, so quite a bit of glue on there. And then line that up. And then just push down firmly. And you'll feel that that's quite solid now. You can push down quite hard. It's not going to buckle. There we go. And so now, because where you've added the magnets, when you pull the door open, you can put it in and they'll just click in place, and you know that way the doors aren't going to, you can shake it about if you wanted and those doors aren't going to open. So that just helps to keep those secure. So now you want to grab your top tier, which has got the disc on it, and you want to adhere this to the bottom layer, but you just want to apply glue to the smaller circle only. Don't add it onto this bigger circle, just apply the glue onto this small circle. So we'll go round the outside first. Okay, and then just position that so you're going to line up the base of this second tier with the top of the bottom one. And once you're happy with that, again you can just push down firmly, and you can actually, if you want to, open up the doors and just go in with your bone folder, and you can then get into the centre so you know that that's, and in fact now you'll see that it spins. So if we close that door, you can spin it round, open the next door and push in there with your bone folder. Right, so that's that done. Really starting to come together now. Okay, and so now for the top piece, you want to actually cut a piece of your pattern paper, and I've done mine so that it's just a little bit smaller than the 10 inches. I'll show you on my tool. I've just done it, if you see, just slightly under the 10 inches, and then that just gives a small border around the edge there. So I'm going to take off the backing of the double-sided tape and stick my decorative paper on. Right, so I've got my pattern paper stuck down, and that's how it's looking. And you'll see that this top section, put that on its side there, just spins, which is what makes it the carousel. So that's really cool, I think. Okay, so we're on the home stretch now. What we're going to do is make the little presents to go on the top, along with the little present that's going to house the on-off switch for the lights. So for the box that's going to be the number 25, which is where you can put in perhaps a few extra sweets or a special gift, you're going to want a piece of cardstock that measures 12 inches by 8 1/4, and you're going to need your scoreboard. And on the 12-inch side, which on these it never quite lines up properly, so we'll just put that in there. And we're going to want to score at 2 3/4, 5 1/2, 8 1/4, and 11. Okay, then you want to rotate it, and we're going to score at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. Okay, so we should have something that looks like that. We'll put our scoreboard away. So now what we need to do is do some cutting, and we're also going to want to make our tabs. So with the shorter or the smaller score line here, we'll have that to the right. That's going to be our lid part. So this bit here is the lid, this is the side, this is the base, and this is the other side, or the front. So what we're going to want to do is to create some tabs along this section here, and then the third box and the fourth box. So grab your ruler, and the tabs, I think I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch wide. So if you lay your ruler down on this score line that's going down here, and just measure out 3/4 of an inch, skip the next one, come down to the third one, measure 3/4 of an inch, and the fourth one 3/4 of an inch, and then line your ruler up and make sure it lines up with the marks that you've just made, and with your pencil draw a line down to that first score line, skip the next section, then from the second to the third score line down to the bottom score line. So you've got something that looks like that. Okay, So now you want to turn it around and do the same on the other side. So we'll measure across, let's go in the middle there, 3/4 of an inch, skip one, 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch. And this time we come down the first two, skip one, and do the bottom one. Okay, so you should have something that looks like that. So now you want to grab your scissors and we want to cut up. If you turn it to the side like this, and where you've got this section here that doesn't have a line on it, we want to cut down the score line. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these first because then it's easier to see. So let's fold and burnish our score lines. Okay, so that's much easier to see now that we've burnished those lines. So what we're going to do is, again, in this section here where we don't have a line, we're just going to cut down the score line to the first score line that's going across there. Okay, so you should now have that. We're going to cut on the other side. Okay, so we've now got that. We're going to turn it round and do the same on this side. Okay, so now we've got that. We then want to come along and where we've drawn our lines, we want to cut down so that we're taking away the rest of that square. Okay, so you've got that, so we'll do the same on this side. Like that. And then turn it round, and these two squares that you've got here, here and here, we can cut those away. So just cut straight down to the score line, like that, and turn it around and just cut that bit away completely. You should now have that. Do the same this side. Okay, and then we're going to cut up the whole of this section here. And do the same on the other side. And so now you should have something that looks like that. So now what we're going to do is these bits here that are our tabs, we're just going to cut a little wedge off of each side. So that we've got that. Do the same on these. In fact, we've actually got to cut down, we've just missed a score line there, so we've just got to cut down on that score line like that. And the same on the other side. There we go, and then just cut the wedges off. So now you should have something that looks like that. Alright, and then this top flap here, I'm just going to round the edges. I'll just use my little corner punch. Which way does that go? That way, isn't it? Ah, so I can't with this. So what I'll do then is I shall use my envelope punch board and we'll just round the corners that way. Okay, so now we've got that. So now what we want to do is just check that everything's going to come up nicely, which it should do. And that's our, like that, and then that's our lid, and it will just fold in there like that. So now what we'll do is we'll decorate our box. So if we turn it over, I'm going to do my decorative paper 2 5/8 squared, I think. So I'm going to want a piece that's going to go on here. I'm going to want pieces on here. That's the base, so we don't need to. We'll then want a piece for there and a piece for there, and that's the lid. So that's where our 25 is going to go. So I'm going to go and cut my pieces for that. Right, so I've cut my pieces. So you just need to be mindful now, if you're using directional paper, that you're going to stick it on the right way. So we'll start off with the lid. So this bit that's got the flap there, that's going to be the top and this is the front. So if you're using a directional paper, you want to make sure that you've got that the right way up. So let's stick that piece down first. Okay, and so now we need to work out which way we've got to put the back piece. So if that's going to be the top, this piece here needs to go that way. Okay, so we'll lay that down and we'll stick that piece down. Okay, and this is the bottom, so we don't need to put anything on there. So now that's going to be like that. So for the side piece, it's going to be that way. And then it's like that. The other side piece, that way, is going to be this way. Okay, and then that's like that. So that one is going to go that way. Okay, and so now we've got that. So what we're going to do now is we'll bring up our sides and make our box. In fact, what we'll do first, just get my little 5/8 of an inch circle again, just put that in about sort of halfway down, roughly in the centre, just eyeball it. And when you're happy where that is, just punch that away. And so then when you put your lid in, you're going to have that. Okay, and then you can easily open it. So let's glue our box together. So that's our front, so we'll just put some glue on those tabs. Okay, so once you've got the glue on, you just bring it up so that it's lined up like that. It should line up perfectly. Just wipe off any excess glue. Like that, and bring up this side as well. Okay, and then want to put some glue on these flaps here. You don't want glue on these end ones, just on this flap here and that flap there. Okay, and then your lid should just fit in there like that, and that gives it a nice snug fit. Okay, and then the top of our box, I've got a lovely little Merry Christmas sticker, and with my numbers I think I'll use gold on this one, so I just need to find number 2. And a 5, and then that Merry Christmas will just go there. Let's put that on first. There we go, and then you can just open that up and put your gift inside, and you can, if you want to, put some pattern paper inside, but you could even put a little message in there if you wanted to as well, but I'm just going to leave mine as is. Okay, so that's that first present made. We'll just put that to one side for the moment. Now what we're going to do is make the box that's going to house the on-off switch of our lights. Right, so for this part we're going to want a piece of cardstock that measures 6 inches by 6.5 inches. You want to grab your scoreboard again, and on the 6.5 inch side you want to score at 1/2 inch, 2 inches, 4.5 and 6 inches. Oops. Okay, so you've got that. Can't see that very well on white, but you then want to rotate it, and you then want to score at 1/4 inch, which is a bit fiddly. There we go. And 1 3/4, 4 1/4, and 5 3/4. So you should have something that looks like that. Right, so we now want to make some tabs like we did last time. So with the small 1/4 inch, where we've done our score lines and we've got the 1/4 inch spacing there on either side, you want that on the left and right hand side. Grab your ruler, and this time our tabs are going to be 1/2 inch. So we want to put a pencil mark in the second box down. So we've got that small section here. In the second box down, put a mark at 1/2 inch. Should have done that a bit lower actually. Then skip the next box, and then in the third box, put a mark at 1/2 inch. And again, line up your ruler on the marks, and we'll put a line in the second box, skip the next box and a line in the third box, and then turn it round and we'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so you should have something that looks like that. Okay, so now we're going to cut out this piece and these 3 pieces there. These pieces here. Okay, what I'll do, if I mark these up, I'll then zoom in so that you can take a screenshot. So I'll lay that down. It takes ages on this for some reason. Okay, So where I've put the crosses is where you're going to want to cut out. So grab your scissors again and cut down the score line just to that line there. Can you see? Because this here is our tab, and then we'll cut along there to that first score line. Cut that piece completely away and that piece completely away. Okay, and then we've got that. And this tab we can just miter the edges. Okay, so we've now got that. So we'll turn it round and do the same on this side. Okay, so we've now got that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut out these parts here as well. Right, so we should now have something that looks like that. Okay, so what we want to do now is burnish all of our score lines. You could have done this actually before we did the cutting. Okay, so once we've done that, we're then going to fold in our edges like that, and what I'm going to do is decorate this once I've actually put this one together. So we'll put some glue onto our tabs and bring it up so that it's nicely lined up. Okay, so once we've done that, we should now have something that looks like that. Okay, and you've got the two smaller 1/4 of an inch pieces here, and then you've got the 1/2 inch pieces here. Now one of these is going to be our hinge, so we want to leave that alone. We don't want to stick that down at the moment. With the other side, we just want to apply a little bit of glue just on the little 1/4 inch corners there, and just fold down that 1/2 inch flap there, just so that that holds it in place and just keeps that square. Okay, so then you've got that, and this, as I say, is our hinge. So what we're going to want to do now is cut out a piece of decorative paper, and the size of that you want to do is the same size as your box. So mine is 2.5 inch square. So I'll cut out a piece of decorative paper, and what you want to do is do the same paper that you've put on the top here. Okay, so once you've got that piece, we then want to stick that on top of our hinge so that it's like that, and that way what that's going to do is hide the hinge bit. When that gets stuck down on top, it will hide the hinge bit. Now it might be an idea just to snip a little bit off the corners of the 1/4 of an inch. See that bit I've done there? Just snip those corners off just so it doesn't interfere when you go to fold it. And then apply your glue. Where's my glue gone? There. Just onto that piece there. Okay, just on there. And then just line up a piece of paper with that flap so that it's all lined up and just covers the flap entirely. Okay, and then you'll find that that will fold down like that, and it's that's what makes our hinge. Okay, so you've got that there. So then what we want to do is we also want to make this magnetised as well, so that it doesn't just sit there and not sit sort of flush to the bottom. So we want to put a little magnet just under this flap here. So I shall grab my magnets again, and I'll just plop just a dab of glue on there, just initially to hold it in place. In fact, actually the easiest way to do it, let's plop that there. I'll get a slightly thicker piece of double-sided tape, put that over the magnet like that. Okay, cut that piece off, and then just best as you can, just put the magnet under there like that. Okay, so you can't see it, and then close your piece of paper down like that, and you can, if you want to, just snip off where it's not quite lining up, and grab a pencil first. It's not totally necessary, but just cut that away slightly. There we go, so now that doesn't show. And grab your other magnet, again just let it find where it wants to go, and hold it down with a bit of double-sided tape. And what we'll do now is we'll grab our carousel and we'll just decide where we want to put it. What we'll do first actually is we'll decorate this box, but when you go to put it on your carousel here, you want to do it really so that it opens that way, and then it's not going to interfere with this box. If you had it that way and you try to open it, it's not going to open because it's going to hit this box. So we'll do it going that way. So let's first of all decorate the box. So for the top piece, you're going to want a piece that is, it's up to you what border you want to leave. I'm going to leave 1/8 of an inch, well, it'd be a 1/16 of an inch, so I'm going to do it 1/8 of an inch smaller, so 2 3/8 by 2 3/8 for the top. And then for the side pieces, you want a piece that's 2 3/8 by 1 3/8, and you'll want 4 pieces for the sides. Alright, so I've now decorated my little box there, and I've just put some ribbon on just to make it look a bit more like a present. And as I say, this is where, that's the right way up, and it opens that way, that hinge. Okay, and it's this that will stick down onto the top there. But what we're going to do is just make our last present, which is going to sit next to these two. So for this one, you're going to want a piece of cardstock that is 9.5 by 6.5. You're going to want to grab your scoreboard again, and on the 9.5 inch side, you want to score at 1.5 inches, 4 inches, 5.5 inches, and 8 inches. Okay, and then rotate and score at 2.5 inches and 4 inches. Okay, will go away. And what we'll do, so it's easier to see, is we will fold and burnish our score lines. And what we're going to want to do again is to make some tabs. So you've got it facing that way, so portrait. Put some glue on there. So grab your ruler and a pencil, and you've got one box up here. It's this box here, next box down. We want to put 2 marks at 1/2 inch. Miss the next box, go to the next one and put 2 marks at 1/2 inch. Then line that up and draw a line in the second box, miss a box, draw a line in the third box, and then rotate that and do the same on the other side. Okay, so we've got something that looks like that. And what I'll do is I'll mark again crosses that we're going to be cutting out. Okay, so I'll leave that for you just to have a quick look. Okay, and then grab your scissors and cut down the score lines. Okay. So turn it around, cut all the way up the first score line to where you see that first score line. Come along, cut all the way up that score line, and then cut the whole of that piece away. You also want to cut that piece away. And then do the wedges. Okay, and then we'll do the same on this side. So now this just goes together like that. That comes up and that will fold in there. In fact, we could just cut one side down slightly like that, just so that it folds in nicely. Okay, and that will glue on there. So this box isn't going to open or move or anything like that, so we can just stick them together. So again, we'll decorate it once we've put it together. So we'll just put some glue onto the flaps. And then for this piece, we'll just put some glue on the inside flap. And we'll just push that onto there. And if it doesn't quite line up, I mean it should do, but if it doesn't, you can just tidy that up with your snips. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and decorate this one. You will want, for the top, a piece of pattern paper that measures 1 3/8 by 1 3/8. And then for the sides, you'll want a piece that measures 2 3/8 by 1 3/8. Right, so that's my last present decorated, and I've used some of the stickers just to use them up really. And I did this one slightly higher up because that's going to, if I show you, sit like there, and you wouldn't be able to see it if it was in the middle. So now what we'll do is position where we want our presents to go. So what you want to do is, obviously we need to allow for this one to be opening up like that, so we wouldn't want it hanging off the edge there. So what you could do is look to see where your paper is, see if you can line it up with what's already there. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to. I thought I'd be able to, but it doesn't look as if I can. But you'll see, especially if you've got a paper like this, wherever you put it, it's going to look fine. So I think I'm going to position mine like that. Maybe just move that over slightly. And when you're happy, we can then glue those down. So I'm just going to burnish that well, like that. And that's where our little switch is going to go. And as you can see from my paper, you can't see really where that join is at all. Doesn't really notice. There we go, that's looking good. Great, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put our little battery operated lights on. Now the lights I bought last year, I think it was, and they're actually lights that go inside wine bottles. You get loads in a box. I'll see if I can find the link. I bought them over a year ago, so I'd need to see if they're still available, but I'll have a look. You must be able to get some sort of battery operated light still. So I'm going to unravel all of this. Right, so I've got that all unravelled. And I didn't realise these actually come with batteries already in and spare batteries, so it's really good. I will, as I say, I'll see if I can find where I got them from, and if I do, I'll put the link down below. So what we want to do is, it's this part here that's going to go into our box. So we want to position it so that the switch part is at the top. So I find it's a good idea to perhaps stick it down with a bit of Velcro. So I've got these little Velcro dots. So grab one side. And we're going to want the wire coming out this way, so it's going to have to go in that way. So we'll pop that on the back there, like that. Then the corresponding hook bit will go on there. And these are quite small actually. They're not brilliant, but they do just hold in place. They're 3/8 of an inch round, or 1 centimetre round. So as I say, they're not brilliant, but they do just hold it slightly in place, and then that will just close like that. And the magnet, as I say, putting the magnet on just helps to keep it secure. I think if you didn't have the magnet, it wouldn't sit flat down. But as I say, you can see it doesn't hold it completely, but it holds it enough just to stop that sliding around. So we'll switch that on, because I think it's a good idea to keep them on while you're putting the lights around, because there's nothing worse. I do that with my own lights at home actually, is I put them on, because there's nothing worse than getting them all up, going to switch them on and then realising they're not working. So we'll keep them on, and we'll just come out to the side like that, and we'll get a bit of glue, the hot glue, put that on there, and then just lay that down like that. And I just use my tool there, and it doesn't take long to start to set, and that will just stay in place. And then we're going to put the lights around, but what I'm going to do is work around this way. You just want to position them on the edge, so once you're happy, just pop another bit of glue, hold the wire there, keep your finger there just while it sets, and then I just do that so you know that it's in place, and then just move it slightly. Use a bit of glue. Hold it there while it sets, and then spin that and move around to the next part. So try and not get glue on the light, so I would just put a bit of glue either just before the light or just after. I wouldn't put the glue on the light itself. And hot glue is definitely ideal for this. You wouldn't want to use any other glue because it just, I don't think it will hold. When you get back to the start, you just want to keep going round until you've used all your lights, and hopefully what you can do is, so that you've got lights sort of all over, you could just fold that one back, because as I say, these are like a wire, so you can just bend it back like that. Pop a bit of glue there just to hold that in place. And then and then just go around now until you've used all the lights up. Right, so we've now got our lights stuck down. So now we will cover the lights with, I've got this tinsel. I got it last year. I seem to have got everything last year, didn't I? I got this last year from, I think it was the Range. I would have thought they would do them again this year. I haven't seen them yet, but to be honest, I haven't really been out shopping for Christmas decorations yet because I've still got lots left from last year. So it was relatively cheap as well. I think it was just a couple of pounds for a great big pot. So it's ideal for this sort of project. And so again, we're going to use hot glue, and we will just use that to stick that around. And you add once you add the tinsel, it just seems to bring the lights to life. It really does, because it just reflects off of the little stars and things that are on there. So I'm going to stick all this tinsel down. So that's the tinsel put around the top, and then what I'm going to do as well is just put some tinsel just along this bottom section here. I just find it then finishes it off nicely. So again, we'll use the hot glue for that. Right, so that's now with the bottom tinsel all stuck down, and that doesn't affect the opening of the doors, they're still open fine. And now if we open up the box, put the lights on, and I'll turn off these lights so you can just see what that looks like. How gorgeous is that? So pretty. And it just makes a change, I think, from having your standard advent calendar, because you can fill this with whatever treats you want, and you can just rotate the top layer around like that. Put the lights back on, and then when it gets to the end of the day, open up the little present, switch the lights off and close it back down. How awesome is that? I really hoped you enjoyed this tutorial and enjoy making this as much as I did. If you did enjoy it, please can you give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, and also if you hit the bell icon, you'll then be notified when I upload another video. Thank you ever so much for watching. Bye.